Jonah chapter 1. If you want to turn there, that's where we're going to start. We're going to go through the first 3 verses today and verses 4 through 9 next week. There's a whole series of sermons in this book that I've done, but I've loved this book because this book speaks about the human heart so much, and it speaks about my heart. And let me just kind of set this up for you, how this all begins. You know this story, okay? And what I'm going to tell you with some of the details is you've probably already heard, but you'll find out through this sermon and what God's trying to teach us about how to follow His plan is that we have a choice. And you can understand a little bit why Jonah is called to go when you find out what Nineveh was like. And it was a horrible place. In fact, Nahum calls it the city of blood. I mean, it's a wretched place. You know, and people, their warriors were so fierce, they would take the people that they captured and skin them. And put their skin on the walls of the city. Can I tell you, that's someplace that I want to go to right away. And they even would capture other generals from other countries and areas. And in fact, one of Nineveh's own men writes, he says, I took this general, and he said, I put a dagger through his cheeks. So it went in one side and came out the other. Then I stuck a dog chain through it and strung him around with the chain. But yet God tells Jonah to go there. It wouldn't be my choice to go to. No way, no how. But let's see what God says. So Jonah chapter 1, we're going to be looking at the first 3 verses. Let me read them. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Yeah, right. Come on, tell me, how can anybody flee from the presence of the Lord? He went down to Joppa and found the ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare, went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. The sermon notes say how to follow God's plan. In Nineveh, that great city, population of tens of thousands of people, very much into idol worship. In fact, from what I've learned, the walls of the city were 100 feet high, 40 feet thick. In fact, if you lived in a city like that, wouldn't you think you were invincible? I would. And it was a city that was greatly hated because they were cruel and they were vile. And on your notes there says, in the introduction, what's the cause of disobedience? How to follow God's plan. Well, as we're going to learn here, when you're called upon, and each and every one of us has been called upon to follow the plan God has for our lives. Whether you know it or not, there's a plan. Now, all of us have different plans. But there's a plan for you, the same as there's a plan for me. And the cause for disobedience is when we try and carry out the plan our own way. Now, he's called to Nineveh. Why? Because the wickedness has come up before the Lord. And that term means that there was it's like a great moral stench has come up. It's like, oh. Hey guys, you remember when you had little kids and the kids would dirty their diaper and it's like, oh. Ugh. Never thought something that bad could get such a beautiful little child. But it was a moral stench. Okay? So you kind of get the picture of what's happening there. You know what? Can I tell you something? From my Bible tells me Jonah wasn't too thrilled about going. He didn't want to go. The text says he didn't want to go because Nineveh was in the opposite direction of where he wanted to go, about 500 miles difference. Wow. So how do you follow God's plan? How do you follow God's plan? And as the text goes on, Jonah knew. Jonah knew he was wrong. But number one on your notes there, how to follow God's plan is by yielding my personal rights. By yielding my personal rights. For me, there is no other book in the Bible that speaks more to me than this book does about the human heart. Of what happens to Jonah because his heart becomes so hard. What happens to Jonah when the heart breaks. And I'm not talking about a broken heart as far as sadness. I'm talking about brokenness. When he comes to be beside himself about the sin he has committed by not following God's plan. But number one there, by yielding personal rights. And there are 4 steps to them. One is identify them. So what are personal rights? We are born into our hearts and born in this society thinking that, you know what, we have rights for everything. You know, a right to success, a right to money, a right to this, right to that. Well, I'll tell you what, my prayer time every day starts with yielding any personal rights that I may think I have, any success, anything, any kind of financial security, anything. I yield that all to God. Why? He's in charge. And you know what? We get so caught up within our lives, we forget that God is in charge. He's in charge of the plan for your life. Why? He wrote it. Can I tell you something? He does not ask for your counsel about the plan. He doesn't. You want to know why? His plan's perfect. Yeah, but Lord, can I? You know, you think that when you try and tell him, well, why don't I do this? You think God's up in heaven and he kind of writes that down. Oh, well, you know what? That's a good idea. Maybe, I'll consider that later. No. He really doesn't. His plan is perfect. His plan is perfect for what's going to happen in Nineveh. You talk about revival. Can I tell you something? The revival that happens in Nineveh is the same revival that needs to happen in this country right now. Let me tell you. The same thing needs to happen. So it's about yielding personal rights. It could be financial security. It could be your schedule. Could be your schedule. Do you yield your personal schedule every day? Now, I'm a very highly scheduled person. I'm very, boom. Everything I do, whether it's prayer time, family time, study time, homework, I am a very organized person. But God reminds me every day to yield that schedule to Him, right? Because, you know why? Because God has taught me how to be flexible. So when there's a change in the plan, in the schedule, I can look at it and say, you know what, Lord, I give the schedule to you. You can either make it work today or give me something that is going to change course, but let me glorify you in that process. Even to the point to where the schedule doesn't get completed. You know what? That's okay. God can change the plan for that day. He can change it according to what I think. Up in heaven, the plan was already laid out. See? But I yield that personal right every day. Every single day that God reminds me that He is in charge. Oh, and there's another thing. You know what? When somebody hurts you or somebody disappoints you or somebody sins against you, the first reaction we have is always to defend ourselves. But I even yield the right to be heard. I even yield that right to be heard. Because right away, the walls of defense come up within our lives. Why? Because we've been wronged, and we sure do want to let them know, and we want to make ourselves heard. But you know what? The Bible teaches, I even yield the right to be heard. There are times when, you know what? You need to just be quiet. But how to follow God's plan means we yield our personal rights. We identify them and we give them over to God. I can remember when we moved here. We dedicated. We gave the house, even though we know that it belongs to Him. We dedicated our home to the Lord. We pray and say, Lord, this home belongs to you. This is your house, not mine. I'll manage it for you. Thank you so much. I'll try and be a good steward. But you know what? This home belongs to you. I may think that I have a right as the homeowner to do whatever I want to it. But you know what? This house belongs to you. We actually, as a family, pray. This is yours. It belongs to you. I have no right to it. It's all yours. So I identify them, I give them over to the Lord, and I make God the owner. Even though He owns it, I make Him the owner. I give it over to Him. In fact, years ago, we had been praying for a brand new van. We needed a van to come back and forth to Wichita here to visit our daughter. And we would drive back and forth maybe 3 or 4 times per year. So it's a long trip. It's about a 12, 13-hour drive. Prayed for a van that we could come. So one day, we're blessed with the money to go out and buy a brand new van. Brand new conversion van, $26,000 van. We were able to walk into the dealer and slap down the cash for it, and debt free. Oh man, is that an answer to prayer? So we brought the van home, parked it. The whole family gathered around the van, prayed for it. Lord, we thank you so much for this van. We thank you for the blessing. This van belongs to you. Use it in a way that will glorify you. And it was wonderful. It was everything that we wanted. About 2 weeks later, my mentor back home, Dr. Wayne Vanderweer, his son was getting married in Texas, Sheffield, Texas. You know where Sheffield, Texas is? I didn't think so. It's in the middle of nowhere. There ain't nothing there. So we're praying together, and he says, you know what? Our family has an unspoken prayer. So, okay, we pray for that, and him and I are out playing golf one day, and just out of the blue, I said, so, how are you guys getting to Andy's wedding? And he says, now, the van is brand new. Got less than 100 miles on it. And he says to me, well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Can we use your van? Oh! Inside I'm going, you got to be kidding me. But then the Lord reminded me, whoa, wait a minute here. Who did you give that van to? What did you say? That it was mine? And it was to be used to help others and to serve me? And I went home and I told Cheryl, and I said, the Vanderweers want to use our van to go to Andy's wedding. Well, she said, that's what it's here for. Oh, I was hoping she'd say no way. So I called them up. I said, it's yours. It's yours. They put on like 3,000 miles on it right away, just like that. But I gave that over. I made God the owner of it. And in order to follow God's plan. And by yielding my personal rights, I make Him the owner of everything. Everything. No matter what, He is the owner of everything. So when we came to the point that whatever happens, give Him thanks, we came to the point to where we walked through our whole house and say, Lord, this belongs to You. The van belongs to You. The furniture belongs to You. Now, years ago, before my daughter was born, and Cheryl and I were financially, things weren't too bad. So we would invest our money in paintings. There was this pretty well-known artist, and we enjoyed his work. So we would buy. You know what? This sounds kind of morbid, but you know what? That your paintings are worth more when the artist dies. You know, you love his work, but yet you know that when he dies, the price is going to go right through the roof. So we invested with some money with a few paintings, and we even went around and pray, Lord, these paintings, they're all yours, and everything belongs to You. Well, as we started growing in the Lord, you know what? The paintings didn't really mean that much, so we decided to sell them. And somebody came in and stole them. Broke into our house and stole them. We were robbed. They didn't belong to us. You know what? It really didn't bother me because, you know why? We had already dedicated them to the Lord. Lord, they belong to You. I pity the burglar right now who has them. But we dedicated them to Him. They were His. You know what? We didn't miss them one bit. Somebody found out that we had them, came in, took them. But in order to follow God's plan, it takes a yielding of my personal rights. And whatever happens, give Him thanks. Why? Because believe it or not, He will test you in this area. If you ain't willing to give up, I'm sorry for that Chicago accent, ain't. I was speaking in the Philippines back in August, and I was teaching at a pastor's conference, and a couple times they said, what kind of accent do you have? What kind of, Chicago, sorry, but ain't, sorry. Because if you don't give it up, He will test you in that area until you finally surrender the area that He's trying to get you to give up. Jonah ain't doing it right now. He ain't. Oh, sorry, he's not. He's not doing it. He tells them to go. Number 2 on your notes there, by yielding control. By yielding control. Jonah didn't even, my text right here, these first 3 verses tells me Jonah didn't even try to obey. He arose to flee to Tarshish in the complete opposite direction from where Nineveh was. And what I put in your notes there about control, there's a contrast in Ephesians 5 about being controlled with wine, but I put the word self in there. You know what? When we try and control our lives, it ends up to be to where there is sadness, turmoil, and even bitterness. All those emotions come up because we think that we're in control, but you know what? We're not. And it's a struggle. I stand up here not as somebody who has perfected it, because each and every one of us struggles with this. How to control your life. Can I tell you something? It doesn't work. Because you end up becoming bitter, angry, there's turmoil, everything. But when you give that control over, when you're controlled by the Spirit, as the Bible teaches, there's love, there's joy, there's peace, there's everything. There on your note says, we cannot fulfill God's plan from our life apart from being filled with the Spirit. We cannot fulfill God's plan for our life apart from being filled with the Spirit. So the question that I have written in my notes there, who's in control of your life? But can I tell you something? Who do you think is in control? You're not. And I'm not. Can I tell you? Who's in control of your church? And can I tell you something? Churches can have all the boards, all the committees, everything they want, but they're still not in control. You're not. We're not. It doesn't work. God, you know what? If God let that control out of His hand, He wouldn't be God. He wouldn't do it. But it's how to follow God's plan is by yielding my personal rights, by yielding control on who the control is in our lives. And you will be frustrated. You will be frustrated if you try to control the things within your life. If your plan, now Jonah here is told to go this way. And if if God's telling you to do a certain thing in your life and you in no way want to do that and you're going in the complete opposite direction, you will be frustrated. You know what? Go. Go ahead. I dare you. I dare you. Go. You want to run your life a certain way? Go. I can't tell you how many people would come to me for counseling and say, you know what, Pastor, you know what? I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. And then I'd say, well, what is God telling you to do? What is God telling you? Oh, well, yeah, but I can't do it. You come to me for counsel, and then you tell me you're doing this, and God is telling you something different, and then you ask me, why is life going so bad? Come on, this ain't rocket science. You see what I mean? By yielding personal rights, by yielding control. Number 3 on your notes there, by yielding my future plans. By yielding my future plans. That means as the future goes, thought by thought, decision by decision, God has all, you know what? From way back here, from when you were young, to as you grow, to way over here, the plan is being carried out. And how frustrating it is, and how blessed it is how much we submit and give over the control to Him. Because I don't know what your Bible teaches. My Bible teaches that as the story goes on, Jonah's life gets pretty miserable. Pretty miserable. There's a question on your notes there. Here's a question. No hands, please. Has your life turned out the way you thought it would? The way you planned? Has it? Mine hasn't. I thought by this time, I'm 48 years old, I would have finished my career in the National Hockey League, be coaching right now at the professional level. In fact, who would have ever thunk that we'd live in Kansas? Because I'll tell you, my life, hey, you know what? I think I told you this last time. I'm probably the most unbelievable person that God. I think God just did it to just laugh to make me a pastor. See if I can do it to this guy. Jonah didn't even want to go. Can I tell you something? It was real tough for me to move here. Born and raised in Chicago my whole life. Man, that's where all my family is. All my friends. It's where Moody Bible Institute is. This is where my church was. Kansas is a great state, but it ain't home yet. I'm still struggling with that. So when he tells me to move here, I say, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. No, but you got to go. Why? Because my personal rights is no. But if I make Him the owner of my life, you know what? You got two choices. Flee and go the other way. And as you learn through Jonah, go ahead, try it. See what his life turned out to be. Well, the same thing could have been happening with me, but you know what? I still struggle. I still struggle because there are days, you know what? There are days that I just want to go home. Friday was one of those days. I come home from work, I looked at my wife, and it was a horrible day, and I looked at her, and I said, you know what? I just want to go home. I want to go home. And of course, I get no sympathy from her. You are home, hon. But it's a struggle because life sometimes doesn't turn out the way you thought it would. Oh, churches don't turn out the way you think they are, the way you planned. Why is that? What do you think? Why do you think? See, not only does this apply to your personal life, but as your corporate life as a church. God has a plan for that. Oh, look on the notes there. Here we go. That last phrase. Rest assured in this. Whatever your situation is, wherever you are, in His plan, you're right where He wants you to be. Every kind of turmoil, anything going on in your personal life, in your church life, can I tell you something? It's there for a reason. Why? To help you to grow. I'm not talking about physically, spiritually, to bring you more closer to Him. The trouble is exactly in His plan. He allows it to happen. Why were my wife and I the so-called, quote, in American society, the all-American couple, given a severely physically and mentally handicapped daughter? I ain't got a clue, but that was God's plan. Now, I got two choices. I can fight it the whole way, or I can accept it, release that ownership to Him, and carry out His plan. His plan has us here now. Or I could stay home. Stay home in comfortable Chicago, Illinois. Bring my daughter back to Illinois, stick her in an institution, and I'm home. No. Whatever the situation you're in your life right now, whatever the situation is, you are within your church. You know what? It's all part of God's plan. You can either grow from it or you can reject it, like what Jonah did. In just those 3 verses, Jonah, Nineveh, ooh, bad place, man. I want you to go there. I want you to go there. Jonah, are you kidding? I ain't going there. I'm going completely opposite way. I want nothing to do with them people. Nothing. They can die for all I care. Well, so what's God's plan in your life? If you don't remember anything today, remember this. When you follow God's plan the way that it's supposed to be followed, obeying Him, can I tell you something? He's responsible. The responsibility is on Him to carry it out. When we disobey the plan, watch this now. When we disobey the plan like what Jonah is, we're responsible. Do you see that? The responsibility falls on us now. Why? He wanted us to go this way. We don't want to. We want to go that way. So now the responsibility, it's on our shoulders. But if I'm following God's plan, you know what, Lord? As much as I would rather be home in Chicago, Illinois, and you have me here in Kansas, you're responsible to carry out this plan. I obey. I'll do whatever you want me to do. And He will bless it. Why? Because it's perfect. And it's good. And it's full of blessings. So how do you follow God's plan for your life and for your church? By yielding any personal rights. By yielding control to Him. And by yielding all future plans. Lord, wherever you want me to go, I'll go. So as we close in prayer, I want you to think about this. You're going to have about a minute to go before the Lord. Any kind of struggles in your life right now about following God's plan for you? And as we bow our heads, you know what? Silently, you can go before. You know what? That's a wonderful thing about believers. We have access to the throne of God to come to Him with any kind of burden. And if that's a burden for you in your life right now, on your heart, you get a chance to talk to Him personally, silently, within your own heart. So why don't we bow our heads? You have a chance to go before Him right now. Just talk to Him. As the music plays, go before the Lord right now, and then I will close in prayer. Heavenly Father, we do thank you so much for this time and for this lesson. You are glorious. You are all-knowing, all-sufficient, and your plan is perfect for our lives. Lord, help us each. You know what, Lord? Help each and every heart here surrender that to you. That we just give it all over to you and help us to obey and carry it out. Lord, we love you. We give you all the honor and all the glory. Amen.